Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Judas. As Judas or any other character, some rooms can be difficult, especially this TNT barrel room. And what a lot of people don't realize is, with TNT barrels, especially since Afterbirth, it has become increasingly easier to actually deal with them, and most of the case that involves the barrels which you can move. You can notice that some of the barrels are tinted slightly differently than other ones, and you can actually take those and move them around to put them in a safer space, detonate them, and then deal with the rest of the room with no danger to yourself. This doesn't work only on just this room, but essentially whenever there's a TNT barrel, there's a chance that a variant of it will spawn, which you can actually move around. It's actually quite tedious to move it around because for some reason it seems like those barrels have something like 1,000,000 kilograms and you really can't move them around. They have a lot of friction, and even when you get them into position, you have to shoot them like 25 times for them to even detonate. But if you can make it work, if you're in a position like this where you only have one red health, it's usually worth the time investment for you to actually move it around, just so you can stay out of danger. So far, this particular run has been going on a bit. I wasn't too happy about it. We did get some very good items and just things in general going for us here, but the main mistake here was that I entered the boss room with only 2 red health, and that might seem like, obviously, why wouldn't you enter it? But the problem was that I still have enough bombs, and I still haven't been to my second secret room, and my idea for some reason in that situation was, I better not go to the second secret room, because it can be the room which has those ghosts which are invisible, and they chase you and they do a lot of damage, and it's just an unpleasant situation to be in. So I decided that instead of going there and risking it, I'm just gonna go do the boss. I'm gonna get an item, maybe another HP upgrade, and hopefully a devil deal which I can take. What I didn't think true was that if there was a devil deal, and by some chance it was a devil deal with 2 red health, and if I only have 2 red health, then I would be unable to pick it up, because that means I would die. And I don't know what I was thinking. It was just a dumb mistake on my part. I definitely should have went to the secret room and to the second secret room first, maybe got a spirit heart out of there and then went to the boss room. Not only would I be protected from actually the boss hitting me like Pin did, which is a bit embarrassing, but it happens, but also if I did get a devil deal later on, or a devil deal which I would want to pick, I would pick it up and I would be in a much better position. As I did it, I got hit against Pin, I didn't get anything, so my whole strategy kind of ran out the window. And you can imagine my disappointment after going in, getting hit by a Pin, which is already embarrassing enough. But then I placed a bomb where I knew, or at least presumed, the second secret room would be, and in there were 3 spirit hearts, which would have enabled me to basically do everything, and even if I got hit, I would still... you know, what can you do about it? Sometimes you just make a blunder like that. But what's important is that you know how to recover. Oftentimes I do get hung up on mistakes I've made previously, but I like to also analyze them and see how those little mistakes actually end up affecting the whole run as a whole. So how does it actually affect the rest of the run? Maybe I get another devil deal which turns out to be decent because of my mistakes. So it's not always a bad thing, especially in Isaac, that when something bad, or maybe you do something badly, that you're gonna get punished for it. And in this case, I'm not sure what was in the first devil deal. I don't think I've read it anywhere, but maybe because I missed the first devil deal, I got the devil deal on the second floor, or I mean on the third floor, so the second devil deal. And in there I got a bunch of good items. I got Gimpy and I got the Mark. And obviously maybe not the most spectacular items in the world, not the best, but still good enough. Especially with the Ivy bag, I can imagine that the Gimpy will be incredibly useful, and it definitely was. And of course getting the Mark is just great, not only because we get some spirit hearts and some extra protection, but also because we get damage. And with Judas, any damage that you get is amplified, so you're just kind of dealing insane amount of damage with a very low amount of damage items that you pick up. What also helped was definitely the tear delays, so this is my favorite kind of run as Judas, where you get enough tear delays and just some damage ups. You really don't need a lot, and then you're just kind of melting enemies and dealing with them in a very quick fashion. What helped here was Succubus as well, which proved or gave me that AoE which I was liking, and of course because Succubus flies over rocks, it was also very useful in those small rooms where I can't reach enemies behind rocks or behind pits and things like that. So all in all, a very decent run that came together, maybe at the last second here, and I thought that maybe I should go for breaking the game here. I had restock, I had enough money, I had the Ivy back, so I definitely could have finagled something there. I even find a Yara rune, not a Yara rune, a blank card, and I had the Algiz rune on me, and you can imagine with Sacrificial Dagger that's quite a really powerful combo. And not only that, if I get a Yara rune in the future, I can use that then to break the game and just get a lot of points that way. I decided to go against that. Even though I like the blank art, I like the breaking, I think it's an essential part in dailies, and a lot of people condemn it, like I've talked about it previously, but in this particular case, I just didn't feel up to the task. I didn't feel like breaking, it seemed a bit too tedious for me. I just wanted to kind of keep the sanctity, so to say, of this whole run and just really do my best without any of the breaking potential. Sadly, I changed my mind later, and when the game is giving you so many tools to actually break the game and really take it apart, I really can't help myself but to take it. I like breaking the game when it becomes super obvious on how to break it, let alone when the game gives you like 3 or 4 options on how you can go about it, and in this case that's definitely something that happened, and I just went for that standard synergy with the jar and the humbling bundle. And you might be wondering, oh, wait a second, you get both the jar and the humbling bundle, and you can imagine that with getting restock I get Steam sale later on, and with the Ivy bag I can just produce so much money that I can essentially buy out the whole shop. Eventually you're just gonna get some of these items which will help you break the game in some sense or another. One of my favorite synergies that I like to get, especially in daily runs, is Bloody Penny alongside with the Ivy bag. If you get some other things alongside that, like maybe Swallowed Penny or maybe some other items like the Wafer, which make it that you can sustain this combo indefinitely. Not only is it super fun to just keep sacrificing your health away, but it's also great because anytime you enter into a room you can use the Ivy bag to trigger the Polaroid or maybe the negative, or just trigger your hit once so you don't get hit when you're entering or walking over spikes or whatever. It's a really nice combo that's very retroactive, where you actually have to think about what you're doing instead of just using blank card and I'll just run and then just running into enemies. It's that kind of strategy or maybe mechanic which I enjoy in games in general, where you have to do something in order to protect yourself from damage, and using the Ivy bag in Isaac feels very much something like a parry in Dark Souls. When you use it at the right time, it just prevents you from taking any damage whatsoever. So with all of that said, because I had enough money, I had enough of everything, I just decided to spend a little bit money in the shop to get a bit stronger, and then I went to fight Hush. I didn't feel too comfortable before because I didn't have that many synergies or items which would help me fight Hush. Obviously, when you enter into Hush, you want to have something that can deal damage to multiple enemies at once. And while Succubus is good in small rounds because this room is so big, you don't really have that much chance of hitting those little petite guys, blue guys, which come out of Hush, and it's really more of a luck-based chance, or at least you have to persevere long enough for that Succubus to eventually bounce into their general direction. And in this case, I just wanted to get a bit stronger, that's why I spent so much time in the shop, and I got the Parasite Shot, and I thought that would be enough. I already had enough damage from before, I got the Champion Belt, I got also the Lump of Coal, and if I was just staying at a distance, I thought I was going to be able to 1 or 2 shot them, and even though maybe I don't have any AoE capabilities, standing in the Succubus would allow me just to deal with them quite fast, and that's indeed what happened. What's maybe even greater about this is that sometimes when you kill the blue guys, they give you red health, and I was able to use that to get Polaroid invisibility, and I was able to do more damage that way to Hush itself. But what's maybe the best about it is that he spawned them, I think, 4 times in total, and I definitely think that's something that's not seeded, and those 4 additional times which he spawned them definitely allowed me to went that extra mile to reroll one more time, or at least buy another item, so that I was actually able to get a humbling bundle. At that point I said goodbye to my Ivy bag. I thought it served its usefulness, obviously not in a literal sense, it would have still been useful, but I just decided to stick with the jar because that will allow me to break the game and just get a lot of consumable points that way. What's maybe the most peculiar thing about all of this, again, I went to the Void mainly because I got all of the sec items, and obviously the sec items work better when you have a lot of rooms to explore, but in this particular case, again, it was mainly due to a variety. I'm kind of tired of going to Shore or to the Cathedral. They're very lackluster floors in some sense because nothing really happens there, and because I had those options, I thought this was a good opportunity to actually go to the Void, see a lot of items, and you never know, with Chaos we might get something really cool out of it. Obviously you're hoping for something like a Forget Me Now that would allow you to do the whole floor over again, and that's just like extra 3000 points for free. So that would have been the ideal situation. Sadly, nothing like that exactly happened, and I can't be too upset about that because the odds of it happening are actually quite low. But with how this whole run turned out, I was really excited about it, but it also kind of proved to me that I've been playing the game a bit wrong. I always play the game, at least in the past, with the sense, or at least with in mind, that I shouldn't pick up too many items. I shouldn't pick up unnecessary items because they add up to a huge item penalty. But I've realized now that it's actually not that bad of an idea. Especially if you have something like Restock. I was always afraid of buying needless items because I thought, There's no way I was gonna be able to go through that item penalty to actually get it low enough for me to be able to compete. But once you know that eventually, with enough time and perseverance, you're gonna get something like the Jar and Humbling bundle, that item penalty really shades in comparison to what you're gonna get with Shrek bonus and exploration bonus and things like that. So even though our item penalty is almost as high as our time penalty, we still offset that by the fact that we were able to intentionally break the game, so to say, to get our Shrek bonus as high as it was. Obviously, all of this could have been avoided, and I could have been at something like 55,000 points if I just decided to stick with the blank card that I got very early on and then maybe find a Yarrow rune that way. But like I said before, I didn't intend to break it, but then later on circumstances changed. I got some items, and I thought this was the game's way of telling me, do it. Just take these items, just break the game, and spread me wide open, and then do whatever you want with me. So that's exactly what I did. And because my yesterday's performance wasn't as good, I thought it was maybe good to offset the fact that I played a bit better today. Maybe I took some of the advantages, and I tried to stay in the spirit of the dailies, at least in the sense I was trying to break the game as fast as I could. So overall, we finished in the 15th spot, which is something like top 10 in the end. So our total is about 50,000, which is pretty great for a run that goes to this point. Obviously, if we found something like the clicker, we could have used that to reduce our item penalty even further. Sadly, that didn't happen. Even if it did, I could have used it a few times, not too many since I didn't have that many battery charges, but I'm sure if I actually had that in mind, I would have been able to make it work. So all in all, a very enjoyable run for me. I hope you played the daily as well. I think it was one of those straightforward dailies where if you know what you're looking for, if you know how to play the game, it really does have a lot of options there for you. And if you enjoy that, I think this daily is for you. But if you don't enjoy breaking that much, which tend to be a lot of people, then this one probably wasn't for you. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.